Why not?
Why not explore the profound difference between being alone and feeling lonely? Hello and welcome back to Why Not? Today I want to talk to you about a very thin line in our lives. It's a line I believe all of us have crossed or even felt stuck behind at some point. It is the boundary between simply having no one around you right now and feeling completely isolated in this world. We are often so defensive about the word alone. We attach a negative stigma to it, treating it like a sign of failure or unpopularity. But is that really the whole truth?
I want to tell you about a Friday evening of mine a few years ago. That afternoon at the office, a coworker asked me casually, "Got any plans for the weekend?" I actually had nothing planned, but instead of just saying that, I lied. I made up a story about grabbing drinks with some old college buddies. I lied because, honestly, I felt a bit embarrassed to admit that a guy like me had an entirely empty weekend ahead.
I drove back to my apartment, ordered some food, and sat down on the couch. At first, it was just a normal evening, but then I picked up my phone and started scrolling. I saw a picture of that same coworker laughing with a big group at a crowded bar. And in that exact moment, the silence in my apartment suddenly felt incredibly loud. I sat there in my familiar living room, and a deep, hollow sense of isolation just hit me. I didn't break down or anything, but there was a heavy weight in my chest. I caught myself wondering, if I turned my phone off for the entire weekend, would anyone even notice? It wasn't just that I was by myself. I felt completely disconnected from the rest of the world. That fear of loneliness is a very quiet but powerful force. We all have a fundamental need to belong, and when that need feels unmet, an empty room can feel like the loneliest place on earth. But because I equated being alone with being a lonely guy, I ended up paying a steep price. To avoid ever feeling that hollow weight again, I started filling my schedule with distractions. I said yes to networking events I didn't care about. I joined groups of acquaintances for late-night drinks, even when my body was exhausted. I forced myself to make small talk and laugh at jokes that weren't funny, just to have background noise. I realized that when you are terrified of being alone, you easily lower your standards for the company you keep. You use crowds as a shield. The invisible cost of that wasn't just a lack of sleep, it was a loss of self. I found out the hard way that standing in a noisy room full of people who don't really know you makes you feel infinitely more isolated than sitting alone in your own house. I was burning myself out, pretending to be someone I wasn't, just to escape a Friday night by myself.
So, why not? Why not take a step back and look at these two concepts logically? The reality is this. Being alone is simply a physical fact. It just means there's no one else in the room with you. Loneliness, on the other hand, is a mental state. It is a lack of connection, which means you can be entirely on your own without feeling lonely as long as you're comfortable with the man in the mirror. Understanding that shifted everything for me. I stopped looking at an empty evening as a punishment or a sign that I was falling behind in life. I started seeing it as a reset button, a quiet space to just breathe and drop the act.
Why not try it this weekend? If you find yourself without plans, don't rush to text someone just to kill time. Take yourself out. Cook a decent meal, watch that documentary you've put off, or just sit quietly with your thoughts without judging them. Treat your own company with the same respect you give to others.
We can't always control who is around us or how busy our social calendar is, but we can control how we show up for ourselves when the room gets quiet. You are not a fraction of a person who needs a crowd to be valid. The strongest, most unshakable peace doesn't come from the noise of the people around you. It comes from being completely okay with your own company. So today, why not stop running from the silence and start exploring the quiet strength of being alone?